Essence Fest. I am super excited about this next conversation, but more importantly, how many of you are excited about being at day number 2 of Essence Fest 2026? All right, I love it. Well, you look absolutely amazing. And if you are here, it is probably because you are a black woman who is interested in learning how you can build your income on your own terms beyond your 9 to 5. And here's what I've learned, that if you want to grow, you want wealth, it's not going to come just from having a job. You have to have your own business. And that's exactly what this conversation is about. Now, if you are walking past and you want to join in, come on. We got some seating still available for you. But this conversation is titled Beyond the 9 to 5, how black women are building income on their own terms. And I'm excited about this one because we have a powerhouse panel and we have a master moderator who's going to take the stage in just a couple of seconds. Now, here's what you should understand. Traditional paths to income are not as stable as they once were for black women, and they are adapting in real time. This conversation that you're about to experience explores how entrepreneurs, freelancers, and creators are building flexible, self-directed income streams across the gig economy. From leveraging digital platforms and creative and leaning into community and skill-based services, this panel highlights how black women are creating financial stability in unconventional ways. Now, you in the audience are going to walk away with a couple things. First and foremost, you are going to walk away with practical insight on how you can diversify your income, you can navigate instability, and you can build earning power that does not rely on one single source. This is called multiple streams, especially in an economy that continues to shift. Now, are y'all ready for this conversation? Y'all got to give me some energy and excitement. We got some women about to join us. So here to moderate this amazing panel is Ensa Huger of the New Voices Foundation Capital. Can we give her some love as she makes her way to the stage? Now here to join the amazing Ensa, we have the one, the only Tiffany Lauren Jones of the Satori agency. Come on, Tiffany, and let's give that orange dress some love. Don't she look fabulous, y'all? Yes, yes, yes. All right, next we have the amazing Amanda Estiverne of the Age Advisories. Come on, Amanda. Yes, yes, yes. And last but certainly not least, we have Casey Dike of the Blaze Group. Come on, let's go ahead and give Casey a round of applause. All right, Miss Ensa, the stage is yours.
Well, good morning, good morning, good morning. My name is Ensa Huger, and I am the CFO and Chief Compliance Officer of the New Voices Fund. I also am impacted by this conversation personally as someone who quit her corporate job in 2018 and had no idea what this was going to be until I met these wonderful people at New Voices in 2019. So this conversation is near and dear to my heart. We're going to jump right into it. Y'all know I'm not a big fan of bios. We're going to weave that in. So in 20 seconds, in one sentence, tell me the moment you realized traditional income was no longer the path.
I'll start down here. It was when I realized I needed more flexibility to have my mental health be a better priority. I was tired of cycles of healing and building, healing and building.
Oh my goodness, this is a really tough question.
I know.
But, you know, I was at a point in my corporate career where I just decided that I wanted to lead with more impact and more purpose. And so I decided to leave a very high-level executive role and said, you know what, I'm going to bet on myself. That's what happened.
And to win. And win.
And win.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for me, I didn't recognize myself anymore. I was waking up and I felt like I did all this really hard work to build this amazing life on paper, and materially I had all the things, but something was missing, and I just felt like something's not right. Like the life that I had built didn't fit me anymore, and it was this feeling that I just couldn't get rid of. So I knew I had to pivot.
That's powerful. I was reading this book. I can't remember the name of the author, but the book is called Homecoming. And it's about coming home to yourself. And there's so many different ways that she talks about coming home to yourself, but that's one of them. What you all shared is being able to look at yourself, see yourself, understand yourself, and support yourself. So let's get into it a little bit. Casey, what do you think black women and people in general are doing well right now to monetize non-traditional income streams? And what could we be doing?
Yeah, love this question. Black women, it's no surprise that we are the highest percentage of folks getting PhDs, having graduate degrees. and really being best in class at what we do. And so I often see Black women turning those into businesses, right? Especially when you have huge cycles of layoffs, et cetera. What I don't see enough of is, though, us monetizing our assets, things we don't have to trade our time for, right? So that is, if you have an extra guest room, why not put it on Airbnb and earn an easy extra $800 a month, right? If you have a car that you're not driving at night, why not put it on Turo and let somebody that's driving Uber rent your car for the night and you make money while you sleep, right? We have assets, we don't monetize those enough.
I love that. Amanda, now once we start monetizing those assets, a lot of people want to have these multiple streams of income, but they're still living with a paycheck to paycheck mindset. So what are some of the biggest financial mistakes you see people making when trying to make or navigate this shift?
Yeah, you know, transitioning from the paycheck mindset, which is the predictable income, to now an income that is variable and may come across in multiple streams and multiple seasons, that's a really tough transition. And it requires you having a strategic mindset to plan ahead, right? To now budget your income that's coming in. It requires you just changing even your level of confidence and taking risks on negotiating even your deals. It requires a different mindset. And honestly, I live that world. Right now, I'm currently having multiple streams of income through brand partnerships, client engagements, and it just requires me to manage my finances from personal to business differently. So it is a mindset.
It's a huge amount of discipline, right? I think one of the things that someone told me years ago, that it didn't resonate originally, but it sits differently now as someone who employs myself. When we go to buy a car or a house, lenders oftentimes want to see our W-2s, right? Because they want evidence that someone else is willing to continue to pay you. But I find that intriguing because who's more likely to fire me? Me or someone else?
Right.
So what should be more stable should be what we pay ourselves, but the reason they trust them more is they have the discipline that we are now learning to have for ourselves. Tiffany, question for you. So as we are realigning and redefining our identities, I think we are oftentimes trying to recover from burnout. And a lot of us, myself included, will go out and recreate the same burnout in the new role that we built for ourselves. How do we avoid that? How do we do better?
So I did that. I recreated the same burnout in my business that I experienced in corporate multiple times. So through trial and error, I learned that you have to make an identity shift. Part of that is the mindset shift that Amanda spoke to. But you really have to recognize the conditioning and some of the patterning that you experienced in corporate, what was draining you, and recognize you can't carry that into your next chapter, into your business, and really make that identity shift from employee to entrepreneur.
Yeah.
It's a totally different mindset.
Yeah.
It's a totally different identity that requires a much deeper level of self-trust with yourself. That's, I think, a lot different from the 9-to-5 experience.
And I think it's really fundamental, right? Things that we don't necessarily think about that are part of the shift, basic things. So for me, when I transitioned, it was, what time do you go to work? That's a very different question when it's my office, right? It's me. But it can't be 10 or 11 or 2 every day, right? It can be sometimes. But in the stage where you're building, I have to figure out what time is the most advantageous for the build. If I have a team, I have to figure out what's most advantageous for the team. I think the other way it shows up, especially for Black women, 2 really key things: our hair and our clothes. If you get up every day and are still wearing your hair and your clothes the same way you were when you were going to work, not that that was problematic, but have you asked yourself, is that how you wanted to show up or how you were told to show up, right? So I want to shift just a little bit and go into a group question about, I think social media does this thing where we glamorize entrepreneurship. It's amazing, right? You get up when you want to get up. It's awesome. But there's a real side to this. So I want to understand, beyond the glamour, beyond the social media, beyond the posts, beyond the websites and the speaking engagements, what is something that people underestimate in entrepreneurship as a whole or in that shift that we're making? Don't laugh, Casey. Don't laugh. This is deep. We in the living room. Y'all don't know. We get in the living room. We want to really talk about it. So what is it, Casey?
It is that your shadows will meet you there. Whatever is unhealed, whatever you're insecure about, whatever you tend to project on other people because you really think they think that about you, it will meet you in entrepreneurship in the way that you negotiate and how tense and angry you are thinking somebody's trying to undercut you, and maybe it's just a starting point, right? in the way that you hire and thinking if I just pay them more money, they'll do what they said they'll do. When somebody's just using you again, you're a mule again in your business the way you were in corporate, right? Your shadows will meet you there, and I think we underestimate that. And so because you walk away doesn't mean you don't still need therapy, right? It doesn't mean you don't need a village, right? I'll stop there.
Yeah, I think to expound, people hire small because they're scared that they're going to hire somebody that knows more or will do it better than them, and it's my business, so how dare you? But I learned the opposite is the best. Hire a bunch of big people and let them go do it, because that's what they're here for, right? That's what corporations are doing. We were out here doing the work.
Yeah, I the way I see it, especially as someone who's left corporate America and now is ventured on my own, there's still microaggressions, honestly, ladies, for Black women. I'm sorry. In terms of navigating, obtaining clients and negotiating deals, they will still try to play in our faces.
Yeah.
And to me, it's very important to build a community of experts and folks that could share best practices on how you can overcome that.
Yeah.
So yes, the entrepreneur life is glamorous, but there are roads around it that we have to still continue to navigate.
I think people really underestimate, and I did too, the emotional toll of entrepreneurship. There's a grieving process that you go through, especially if you are a high performer, high achiever. You're someone who's used to doing it right, getting all the things done, and receiving accolades for that. One of the things I hear people say all the time when entrepreneurship is, I don't want to fail. And you are going to fail over and over and over again. And that is really a big blow to your ego if you've been used to winning, especially in corporate. And if you've attached your identity to that performance and you no longer have that external validation, that is a really rough ride to go on, that there's no one really there to support you and guide you through. You have to go within, connect with God, your higher power source, and that's really all you can depend on. And it's a totally different journey.
I mean, the training wheels are off, right? Our parents aren't here, our bosses aren't here. You're oftentimes in your room by yourself at 1 or 2 in the morning trying to figure it out. And that is deep and it is emotional, and it can feel amazing when you figure it out. Like when you look back and say, remember when I was in the living room at 2 a.m. trying to figure it out, and now here I am. There's beauty in that too. The other thing I would share is oftentimes when you're an entrepreneur starting a business, I think it's less than 19% of businesses employ people. So one of the hurdles we've got to get over is to start to employ people. And that is scary for us because someone's family is now depending on me.
I love what you just mentioned because delegation is a very hard thing for Black women to do.
Trust.
We want to own the whole
Trust.
project.
Yeah.
But we forget that partnerships and collaborating with each other and capitalizing on each other's expertise will really push us further. That's what the big companies are doing.
Yeah.
Let's pay attention to that.
And it's also about somebody's going to do it wrong. Your teammate, your partner, their collaborator, they're going to do it wrong. It requires communication. Sometimes they just didn't understand what it was that you needed, and if you try again, they'll get it right. But also, don't try too long. Because we don't have a lot of time.
No time.
Right? Okay. We're going to pivot just a little bit. Casey, I want to go a little bit deeper into your background. I know they don't quite know, but if y'all want to come meet any of us, you can meet us right after this and learn more about us next door in the Village or the Hub at New Voices. I want to talk a little bit about tech and AI. What do we currently need, or how can technology or AI help us now to really grow or pivot as we're moving into this new phase of our lives?
Yeah, that's a great question. And before I answer, because obviously there's so many conversations around AI, right? Like environmental racism, but also increased productivity. And if you miss this wave, you're going to be even farther behind, right? I want to share a quote from the 70s that Amiri Baraka said. He said, the new technology must be spiritually oriented. We must ask ourselves, what purpose do black folk have on the moon, right? Like, we can leverage any technology for our good. A Black woman created GPS, right? And so I think it's important for us to really assess our own gaps, understand your strengths, because your weakness will never become your greatest strength, right? We're naturally gifted in different things. Assess those gaps so you can figure out how you leverage AI to fill that in, right? If you don't have the money to buy an entire human for 40 hours per week, right? How can you create a bot, for instance, where you tell it, have this expertise, speak as if you are from the East Coast of XYZ, right? Those are some some, I think, low-hanging fruit ways that everybody is familiar with, right? But there's also agentic modeling today, where from end to end, AI will do the entire process for you, even to purchasing things you need every single month, right? Look into that, right? Think about how you can take things off of your plate so you can sleep longer, so you can spend time with your family more, right? Because those are the things that keep you sustained along the journey.
So I want to pick up two really good words here. Financial instability versus financial irresponsibility. What does financial stability look like for someone in a non-traditional income?
Yeah, it's, like I said it's earlier, it's a tough transition from moving from a predictable income that every 2 weeks to now income that's coming in seasonal, right? Like, one time you get a big deal and it could be for the first 3 months. And then sometimes you're getting seasons where it's quiet and maybe you need to now reinvest in your business and start going out and getting leads. One of the things that I've been doing with my organization now is I'm really strong on this concept of income, invest, and then debt management, right? So now what I'm doing is I've put together a 401k. I've put my own 401k with a fintech called Betterment, and I'm leveraging that not only for tax purposes so that there is some money returning back, but to me that's saving a nest for the future, and that's really important.
Yeah, I think one of the things people don't think about especially as a solopreneur, you need insurance.
Yeah.
There are lots of insurances out there. I'm not going to go into all of them, but you need insurance. You need coverage for the times that you're not available. If you are the primary producer of income for your business or your household, you need to cover yourself because no one's covering you anymore. No one else is stepping in to save you or do your job. So there are lots of different coverages that you can get to kind of help you with that. And the other thing that I started doing, especially in the first year, first of all, I had to be very frugal, right? Look for ways to not spend money. In the first year or two, look for ways to not spend money. Get the free version.
Yeah.
But start putting 30-40% of the money that you get into an account of every dollar. It doesn't matter if you think you won't need it later. I don't care. I transferred 30 to 40%. And I'm saying 30 to 40 because I bridged it over time. So 30 up to 40 and then back down. But essentially, I did that until I developed a nest egg that covered 1 year of my expenses. Then I stopped doing that. Then I can invest a little more in the business, a little more into some staff. I don't want to hire somebody I don't have a full 6 months to a year of their income in my bank account. Because again, they're depending on me. I'm depending on me. So 1 month of being thrown off and now I got to fire you isn't good for me or the business mentally, physically, or emotionally as a Black woman.
Yeah, I love that. And I'd love to add just leveraging financial products that benefit you in the long run.
Yes.
Leverage credit card programs where, of course, these are bills, reoccurring bills that you will have to spend, but you'll get cash back purposes to that.
Yeah.
Leverage, especially we were just talking behind the room earlier about airlines. There's certain airline programs. Stay consistent with the same airline programs and leverage the miles.
It's your benefits.
I'm telling you, there's ways you have to be frugal.
Yeah. So Tiffany, this question's for you because I know that we are, or you are, not me, helping to have high-achieving women kind of navigate these shifts and changes in their identity. How do we know, and I should have asked you beforehand, too late now. How do we know when it makes sense to kind of reinvent yourself in the current thing you're in, like push through, or reinvent yourself somewhere else, reimagine who you should be? How do we know the difference?
This is such a good question because, again, I learned the hard way through a lot of trial and error, a lot of mental health, I would say, issues arising from not knowing when to pivot because you can spend a lot of resources, as you mentioned, time, energy, and you're not bearing any fruit. I think that's a sign that you need to pivot. There are seasons where things are difficult and there are obstacles. That's part of entrepreneurship. It's like a new problem to solve every day. But if you're not bearing any fruit from the investment that you're putting in, that's a sign that something's off and it's time to take a different direction.
Yeah. I take that down to something really tactical. I'm a Virgo, so I have a to-do list every single day, right? As a Virgo, I need to feel like I'm completing something every day. The problem I was having was I would list get new clients as the checkbox. When the checkbox was define my sales funnel, email a client, sign a client, onboard a client. That one bullet was really compounded into 11 things. And if you don't break that down, you don't ever feel a sense of completion. And so you feel defeated. So you got to take those projects and break them down into the minimum viable product of that project. What's the first step? And if you did that first step as an entrepreneur, I know we can all say, if you did that one step today, that's enough. You're doing good. Because a lot of times all you can do is one step today while trying to put out fires, while trying to solve the world and boil the ocean and herd the cats. If I just checked one bullet today, I did it.
And I want to double click on that, Ensa, because one of my mentors in entrepreneurship told me when I was having trouble with a larger team, she said, Casey, you can't give them the whole thing because it'll break them. Like, yes, you see the vision.
They can't handle that.
You have to break your problems down into projects because when they check that off their list, they're motivated. They believe, and so I agree. The same is true for your team. You can't tell them, oh, we're going to be number one in our city. Like, that is so vague. It's demoralizing, right? Versus we'll have 10 new leads.
One thing,
Exactly.
And it's also just, everybody is not meant to carry your vision, right? God gave each of us a vision. And every one of us is carrying out our part in this grander vision. Only you can carry the weight of your vision. It's not mine. So give me my piece, and that's it. All right, we're coming to the end, unfortunately. So I want to give you guys a quick wrap-up question to leave everybody with. Something tactical, actionable that we can do in 30 days, right? So Casey, what's one thing, skill, asset that somebody can monetize better? You mentioned one. Let's mention a couple.
You can do writing. So a lot of people need content today in the algorithmic world that we live in. And so your specialty, you can offer to write ghost blogs, offer to write published articles for folks. That's one thing I do on the side. I won't mention what I mentioned before. You can definitely use your Sky Miles, any perks you might get from any of your credit cards or loyalty programs as real cash you can convert in. A last one I'll say is, so many out there. A last one I'll say is, productize whatever you do one-on-one for folk, right? Whether it's templates or download guides, etc. Let people buy it without you spending any time doing it.
Amanda, one financial habit that creates long-term freedom.
Yeah, I want you guys all to think like a company, right? I want you to build your, 2-year plan, right? Put together a P&L, leverage tax benefits and services for yourself because it's coming. They're going to ask for their taxes in a year. And really try to leverage each other as partners to move faster and move better within your own companies.
And Tiffany, one mindset shift or thing we need to let go of to build differently.
Something that you need to let go of to build differently is feeling like you have to be strong and you have to do it all. Like, please take the cape off and think about your knowledge, your wisdom, your gifts, your unique experience as intellectual property. Have it registered. Build an ecosystem. So let go of the mindset of just selling a product or service. Yeah. How can you build an ecosystem around who you are and what it is that you like to do and get that legally protected?
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much, Casey, Amanda, Tiffany. Join us for the rest of the day on this stage. I'm going to give it back to our wonderful stage host, Quinn.
Thank y'all.
All right. No, hold on. That was a full-fledged masterclass. Y'all go back over here, take your pictures, get your flowers. Listen, that was absolutely amazing. Can we give these wonderful women one more round of applause?